We haven't even taken the first virtual green flag, but already, God, the politics of iRacing are exhausting. Timmy Hill has launched a nationwide movement, and we'll see how it turns out tonight. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. Today is an interesting day. I woke up and saw, guess what? Number 8 trending in the entire United States on Twitter. Hashtag let Timmy race. If you have not been on social media, you probably have no idea what that means, what we're talking about, but tonight is the first event of the 2021 edition of the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. And we're gonna focus on that invitational part of the title here in this episode, because just like last year's Pro Invitational that took place during the COVID shutdown, NASCAR is inviting all of the top drivers from the real world NASCAR Cup Series to participate in a virtual iRacing series of events that will be broadcast on national TV. NASCAR said coming into this year that the field would be open to all full-time NASCAR Cup Series competitors, plus Fox was going to leave a couple spots open to invite their own guys, which is why Clint Bowyer and Dale Earnhardt Jr. are racing tonight. They were part of that invitational crowd. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is good for ratings, Clint Bowyer is good for the broadcast, so I don't blame Fox for making that decision. But one driver that was noticeably left off the entry list when NASCAR made it public yesterday was Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill, that's right, Timmy Hill was the force behind NASCAR being one of the top trending topics on social media this morning. What a world we live in. After NASCAR tweeted out the entry list for tonight's Pro Invitational event, Timmy Hill took to Twitter and responded with this: "Compete in every Cup event the last 2 seasons and was the only Cup driver that was left out. Stings a bit." That's right, scrolling down the entry list, Timmy Hill was noticeably left off the entry list for tonight's Bristol Dirt iRacing event. And that was shocking for me to see. That was shocking for pretty much the entire fan base to see, especially once Timmy Hill brought some light to it. I'm not sure if people would have noticed quite so closely if Timmy Hill had not mentioned it, but once he did, oh my. I've not seen NASCAR Twitter blow up like that in quite some time. I myself tweeted, "Really bad look for NASCAR and NASCAR on Fox to keep Timmy Hill off the entry list. Dude literally won a Pro Invitational race last year." And so that's what we're gonna focus on in today's episode. Why was Timmy Hill left off the entry list? Was it a NASCAR decision? Was it a Fox TV decision? Was it an iRacing decision? What does this say about NASCAR's support of the small teams, the underdogs, if they're gonna leave off Timmy Hill, who became kind of the face of iRacing just a year ago from their all-new Pro Invitational event? This episode is brought to you by Fram. Shortly after the Let Timmy Race hashtag began trending across social media, Timmy Hill actually did an interview with Front Stretch, and they posted this article in which Timmy Hill says that his team, NBM Motorsports real world team, may skip real-life cup races due to not being in the Pro Invitational Series this year. He says, "We try to package our real-life racing to the Pro Invitational. We kind of really leverage that to sponsors because we try to really package it all together. Really, we had a lot of people who had interest in sponsorship, but we kind of had to put it on hold because we've told them that we've really been left out of the loop on this deal. Nobody from NASCAR will respond to us." I guess the reason is because they knew all along that they didn't either want us in the series or knew that they weren't going to have us. Communication was really not there. It seems to be a common theme that we just kind of get left out. Oh gosh, pulling at my heartstrings, the world's tiniest violin is playing. You can't help but feel bad for Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill, of course, won the hearts of America by winning that Texas Motor Speedway iRacing event last season when he gave William Byron the boot scoop boogie, is that what he called it? The little bump and run? And then remember Eddie Gossage, president of Texas Motor Speedway, actually awarded Timmy Hill a cowboy hat and photos in the real world victory lane once NASCAR went to that track later in the season. So that was really, really cool. Remember all the press? Remember all the play that got? Remember how supportive fans were of that? NASCAR didn't seem to care. NASCAR seems to be actively campaigning against Timmy Hill and NBM Motorsports, and I can't help it. That's how this feels. That's what this looks like. Because from what I can tell, there is no, at the very least, no logistical or physical reason why Timmy Hill shouldn't be invited to this event. You know, NASCAR said that the Pro Invitational will be opened up to the 36 charter teams, of which Timmy Hill is not, but it'll be open to the 36 charter teams, plus Fox will get the chance to invite 4 drivers per race. That's what reports suggested, so that would make up a 40-car field. If we look at the entry list for tonight's Bristol event, you have only 35 5 charter teams even showing up, since Kevin Harvick is not on the entry list. I guess he's just sitting it out, all right. But then you have Ryan Preece, who's technically not a charter team, but he is part of JTG Doherty, who's in the Race Team Alliance, who I believe they're saying is basically taking Kevin Harvick's charter spot. Okay, so you have the 36 charter teams. The only other 2 drivers on the entry list are Dale Jr. and Clint Boyer. In theory, you still have 2 empty slots for other drivers. Not to mention NBM Motorsports has run every single race this season and last season. That was part of the criteria, the qualifications that NASCAR laid out earlier in the offseason, so I don't understand why they have omitted the 66. But again, it's virtual racing. All you gotta do is type in some code. All you gotta do is upload a paint scheme onto a car. That's literally all you have to do. It's not like iRacing can't handle a 39 car field instead of 38. There's actually zero reason that I can see why Timmy Hill should not have been invited into tonight's race. I mean, shoot, he's even on some of the promotional material. That tweet he initially replied to, look, they're even showing him as one of last year's winners to promote this series. Good Lord. This is a disastrous PR move for NASCAR and for iRacing. Whose decision was it to leave Timmy Hill off the list? If it was NASCAR's decision, if it really was NASCAR just saying, yeah, we're not going to invite Timmy Hill, gosh, that's a terrible look. It actively looks like they're campaigning against the smaller teams. What message are they sending to other small team owners around NASCAR, not just in the Cup Series, but in Xfinity or trucks? Because this makes it look like NASCAR not only just doesn't care about the small teams, it makes it look like NASCAR actively does not want those small non-charter teams in their sport. Keep in mind, this offseason it was announced that the purse money allotted to non-charter teams would be significantly decreased this season, whereas the purse money for the charter teams seemingly went unchanged. Okay, even with that being said, Timmy Hill's team decided to run every race so far this season because, as Timmy Hill mentions in that front stretch article, he believed that would allow them to race in the Pro Invitational, and that was what they were selling a lot of sponsorship around because he knows he's going to run up front in these races, and that's going to get their sponsors some good TV time. Now here we are, the iRacing event shows on. Per all the data I can see, Timmy Hill meets the criteria to be invited, and he was not. He was not. And per Timmy Hill, there's been zero communication. He says that he's reached out to NASCAR numerous times in recent weeks and they have not gotten back to him about the Pro Invitational. So I don't know what else to tell you. This looks like NASCAR actively wants NBM Motorsports to go away. It actively looks like NASCAR does not want that team in their sport, which I can't wrap my head around that. I understand. I'm not foolish. I understand that NASCAR's focus is on the 36 charter teams because those are the teams that are usually the most competitive. Those are the teams that are bringing in the most funding from sponsors. Those are the teams that fans pour in to support more often than not. Like, I understand that NASCAR wants to make those 36 charter teams happy. They want Roger Penske, they want Joe Gibbs, they want Hendrick, they want everyone who really drives the needle to be happy. I get that, but they're doing this at the expense of the teams like Timmy Hill's team, like NBM Motorsports. And I just wish NASCAR would come out and say it. You know, we only want the 36 charter teams to show up to the track. All these other teams, you know, they're siphoning off little crumbs of the purse money. We don't want that. Get them out of here. We only want the 36 charter teams. That's what it looks like. Maybe that's not true, but that's certainly what it looks like given the recent patterns of decisions. And that sucks because the message that sends to the rest of the world is that if you want to own or start up a NASCAR Cup Series team, you first need to shell over $5, $6, $7, $8 million or more for one of these arbitrary charters that we value. But at the same time, these charters are incredibly scarce. You know, say I have $8 million right now willing to spend. Say I have $1 trillion. Say I have $1 trillion and I want to go buy a charter and start a NASCAR team. Right now, I don't think I could, because I don't think any charters are for sale. There's only 36 of them, and right now they're all being used. The reason this past season we had 2311, Trackhouse, we had some new teams get into the Cup Series is because a couple teams like Germain Racing, like Levine, shut down and went out of business, so they were selling their charters. So you have to get in at the right time. There has to be a charter available, and you have to have $8, $10 million just to buy the charter. That's not even to buy the equipment, hire the personnel, get the driver. That's just to buy a spot in the lineup. NASCAR champions this is a good thing. Look, the value of our charters keeps going up. That's great for the existing team owners. Yes, but that sucks for potential new team owners. That's just making the barrier to entry even greater. And now you're basically saying that a smaller team without a charter, like Timmy Hill's team, like NBM Motorsports, now you're saying they don't even get a chance? Like, I get Timmy Hill and the 66, they're not competitive on Sundays. They aren't, but neither is Rick Ware Racing, and they got 4 of your special charters. I really hope that if NASCAR does keep the charter system in place, which at the rate things are going, I don't see any way they get rid of the charter system anytime soon, I do hope that at least eventually the charters begin to expand. We get to 40 charters, maybe more than that. You know, that would be good. That'd be at least a positive thing, but right now I don't see any positives with how the charter system is playing out, at least from an outsider's perspective. Like, I get it. Maybe the charter system, I'm sure the charter system in a lot of of ways is keeping the Joe Gibbses of the world, the Hendricks, the Stewart Haas's, the Penske's, the Ganassis. Maybe it's keeping them happy, but it's also somehow made NASCAR even less attainable for new, young, upstart team owners than it was before. I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think it could be any harder than it was a few years ago for a new team owner to get into the NASCAR Cup Series, but lo and behold, I think it is. I think it is harder right now, especially since NASCAR seems to be sending the message to these small teams that you are just straight up not welcome. We're not even going to get back. We're not even going to send you an email about the Pro Invitational that you, on paper at least, seem to qualify for. We're not even going to mention it. Really ugly stuff, really bad look from NASCAR, if it was NASCAR's decision, which, I mean, NASCAR certainly, I think, has the power to override iRacing or NASCAR on Fox, but, could the NASCAR on Fox's decision, maybe, they're worried about putting on a good show, and they're worried that Timmy Hill, some no-name like Timmy Hill, is going to go out there and smoke Dale Jr. and Kyle Busch, and that's not great for TV. So maybe Fox was just worried that Timmy Hill is too freaking good. I don't know, it'd be silly, but they might. Or maybe iRacing kind of the same thing. iRacing wants their platform to look as legitimate as possible. So if fans tune in and see Timmy Hill smoking the doors off of Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, fans might be like, hey, Timmy Hill's not as good as Kyle Busch. Why is he destroying him in this game? Oh, it must not be very realistic. I'm not going to get iRacing. Maybe iRacing had something to do with this. What it comes down to is either NASCAR doesn't care about small teams, or iRacing and NASCAR and Fox are afraid that Timmy Hill is too freaking good. It's really silly. Now, I've given you guys all the backstory and I've vented about this enough, but this story perhaps has a happy ending. Now, I'm recording this a little before lunchtime here, the day of the race, so as of now, there has not been official word about whether or not Timmy Hill is going to in fact race tonight, but there was a pretty wholesome exchange on Twitter this morning. Austin Cindric, who's set to drive the 2-car tonight, tweeted this: "Big shoes to fill, subbing for Brad Keselowski. Tight squeeze into his virtual seat. Knees are on the virtual digital dash. And I didn't even have time to pack virtual tear-offs." Haha, very funny. I think Timmy Hill would be the man for the job tonight. What do you think, Keselowski? Brad Keselowski said, "I like where your head's at. Are you in, Timmy Hill?" Team Penske, "We're down. Let's do it, Timmy Hill." As of the time I'm recording this, at least, let me check one more time, but Timmy Hill has not responded publicly, but perhaps he has behind the scenes. Maybe he's texted Penske or Cindric or somebody. No, Timmy Hill has not responded yet. However, there were multiple reports saying that Timmy Hill is expected to drive the 2-car, or drive a Penske car tonight. Now, that's great. It's great that there's a good chance tonight Timmy Hill will get to race, but he's driving a Penske car. I hope they're able to get some of those MBM Motorsports sponsors on that Penske car, virtual paint scheme for tonight, because that's kind of the point of this whole thing, right? That was the whole point of that front stretch article, is that Timmy Hill was really bummed about not getting to race tonight. One, because he knew he'd be good and he likes to run up front and be competitive and get his name out there more, but two, more importantly, his team sells sponsorship based on these iRacing events. So I assume some of their sponsors were expecting exposure tonight. If he's driving the discount tire car, that's not getting MBM Motorsports sponsors exposure. So I hope they're able to slide roofclaim.com or whoever else they have onto that car tonight if he does in fact race for Team Penske. But there you go, at least some positive news to end this on, but it shouldn't have come to this. NASCAR has not publicly reacted to any of these hashtag let Timmy race, trends. And I'll be shocked, quite honestly, if Mike Joy, Jeff Gordon, Clint Boyer even bring it up during the broadcast night, even if Timmy Hill does race and say he's leading in the 2-car. I highly doubt Mike Joy will say, he wasn't even supposed to be here, but social media rallied behind him and now he's in the 2-car leading this race. Maybe he will, but I feel like NASCAR or Fox or whoever the powers that be in this case are, I don't think they're going to want him bringing it up. So it does look like Timmy Hill will race tonight, but the damage I think has still been done. It's clear NASCAR is sending a message that they do not care about teams like Timmy Hill's, and that's bad. That's bad. I understand. Timmy Hill and MBM Motorsports, they're not a competitive team. NASCAR wants to focus on the teams that are winning races and are capable of winning races and are selling the most sponsorship. I get that. But NASCAR used to be the sport where you could work on a car in your backyard, bring it to the track, and have a shot at running top 10 at Talladega. That was the beautiful thing about NASCAR. I mean, those days have long been gone, but now they've officially been gone. NASCAR effectively has destroyed any chance of those days coming back anytime soon. If you don't have millions of dollars for a piece of paper that says, yes, I'm valid, I have a charter, you're not even getting into the race, let alone having a chance at a top 10 at Daytona or Talladega. So it's a terrible look. It's a really bad look for NASCAR. I really hope they're able to tweak on this business model going forward. But I don't see them budging. Clearly, based on their ignoring of Twitter tonight in the last 2 days, it doesn't look like they're budging. Anyway, that's all we're going to talk about in this episode. Just wanted to get that out there. Of course, I'm supporting Timmy Hill. I want him to race tonight. I wish he was able to race in the 66 for his team. but I guess this is the next best opportunity. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR almost daily. As always, a huge thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters. Couldn't do the show without your tremendous support. I'll be watching the Pro Invitational race tonight, and then I will be doing a live stream post-race reaction shortly afterwards, so I hope you're able to stop on by and hang out with us for a bit. I'll see y'all later tonight. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.